My job is all about purpose.
Just the ability to make a difference, to help someone be able to go home at the end of the day.
My great-grandfather started the volunteer fire department in Springfield, Nebraska. My grandmother was a nurse. My uncle was a fire chief in Atlanta, Georgia. So somewhere down the line, it was my purpose to be doing this.
Yeah, we're a family here.
The data we get from Rapid SOS is life-saving.
Have you ever met a 911 professional and asked, what's the worst call you've ever taken? Well, here's your answer. I heard your last breath the night you flipped your four-wheeler. I tried to call you the day you committed suicide by driving your car into a tree. Blue face, cold to the touch. I helped you with CPR after you found your infant face down, not breathing. It messed me up. I did everything I could, but it wasn't enough. You were with me from the beginning, Grandma. 27 years later, I took the 911 call when you died. How fitting to be there for me in the beginning, and I was there for you in the end. I miss you, Grandma. I am 911. This is but a glimpse into the world of emergency dispatch. But what is it really like to answer a call during someone's nightmare? What is the impact of the first responder answering the call? Available on Amazon or where you purchase your favorite books and ebooks. Imagine listening. Your worst day is our everyday.
This is Jordan, and you're listening to the Code 7 Podcast Network.
Warning. This episode contains the 3 A's of podcasting: adult content, adult language, and awesomeness. You've been warned.
Also, I think the best compliments sometimes can come from your peers.
Yes.
I think that it means more to our frontline dispatchers when their partner notices they did something cool. I think it's the expectation that their supervisors and leadership should do that. And if that's not happening, my God, shame on you. But it's important as a frontline person, whether you're a trainer or a frontline supervisor or a dispatcher, to recognize the person sitting next to you, right? And I think that we forget that sometimes. Mm-hmm. I think it's just important to continue to do, but also leading by example.
Welcome to Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them.
Hey, what's going on? This is Ricardo with the Code 7 Podcast Network, and this is going to be Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them. This episode is sponsored by Rapid SOS, Safer Together, the leading AI company in public safety, and a big shout out to subscribers as always. Thank you for everything, and there is always a lot of stuff going on. As I say in the beginning of pretty much every episode, there are a lot of different speaking engagements coming up. So if you're going to any of the conferences, whether it be Navigator or National NINA or any of those state conferences, I will probably see you there. I'll probably be in a booth and recording episodes, so make sure to stop by, say hello, or I'll be doing an Imagine Listening session. I would love to see you there. I have some new challenge coins that are coming in to mark the 10th anniversary of the I Am 911 movement, and there's noises over here where we're sitting. I don't know if that's a rat or a ghost. Probably a ghost. We've had a lot of ghosts at times recording episodes. I don't know that for sure. I'm just saying that, but it happened in Ohio. But either way, good to be here with all of you once again, as always. This is probably going to be like episode 650 something now when this one comes out, but I'm excited to be here. I'm with my guest, Mel, not Melanie, because you're not in trouble, right? So,
right.
So I'm here with my guest, Mel, and she is out of a regional agency out of Missouri and has about 23 years in public safety. How are things going?
Good, very good. I'm excited. I mean, Telecommunicator Week's coming up next week, so lots going on.
Do you guys do anything there?
Yeah. making sure that they really have some time, not just with like their leadership and their supervisors, but those that we serve in any center that I oversee, and just making sure that they know it's not just the management that they have on a day-to-day, but making sure that the others come into that as well. And ensuring that they are celebrated every day of that week. It's
Very
super
nice.
fun.
So for those who are listening, who are outside of public safety, who might not know about this specific week, can you give a little background?
Yeah, so I don't know what year it was created. I don't know that. But so National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week, it's an opportunity to just celebrate our frontline 911 telecommunicators throughout the nation. Generally, folks will do parties and theme weeks, and they'll provide awards. And so, that's what we're really looking forward to, and making sure that it doesn't stay in that week alone. But it also brings a little bit more awareness to our partners. There's Police Week, there's Fire Week, there's EMS Week, there's Dispatcher Week as well. So I would say, one thing is, if we're going to ask everybody to recognize our telecommunicators, we should be doing the same for them that we serve on their special weeks too.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I like that. What are some of the things that you like the most when it comes to, whether it be the themes, to see people coming in dressed up, or how about this? And maybe you don't like this, only in the sense that, and I just think about back in my own experience, there would be times where people were just starting to kind of watch more of what they're eating, and they forget about dispatch week coming up, and they walk in and it's boxes of cookies, candies, cakes, pizzas, like all kinds of things.
Every sugar, right?
Yes,
Every sugar.
everything. And I remember sitting there and just listening to people, and they're like, I love that they're recognizing us, but I want one of those donuts over there. I'm like, go get one then. I'm like, it's okay. It's just one. I'm going to go get one and get some coffee.
Right.
So what about you? What are some of your thoughts on that?
I think I do try to pay attention to that a little bit, like when we are buying snacks, and sometimes it's a basket of fruit or whatever, and they'll take a piece, right? Like,
yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of waste sometimes, and that frustrates me because we do. I mean, we ask a lot of our partner agencies to make sure that they're bringing stuff in during that week, and so sometimes there's a lot of waste, and that's frustrating to me. But I love to see the stuff piled around, and I really enjoy showing those folks off. Like, I really want people to understand what they do. It doesn't take a special week to do that, but I like to utilize the week to make sure they understand, here's how many calls they've taken, this is how fast they do it, this is what standard they're doing, this is how many EMD types of calls, while also providing a couple different recognitions throughout the week. We started that up last year, and we're going to continue with that this year, and I'm just excited to maybe embarrass them, because they're I think dispatchers as a whole are very much, they're behind the scenes folks. We chose this for a reason. There's various reasons, right? But they're very behind the scene folks, and some of them, they don't like that public excitement, and but I think that they deserve it. Maybe a quick embarrassment. Look what you guys did. Let's all cheer for you. And they may hate it, but I think there's, depending on who it is, right? We need to know who we're doing this for, and I think there's always a piece that they take away that, like, okay, I really did do something cool, and I was noticed, not just by somebody sitting next to me, but outside knows what I'm doing as well. So I think the best compliments sometimes can come from your peers.
Yes.
I think that it means more to our frontline dispatchers when their partner notices they did something cool. I think it's the expectation that their supervisors and leadership should do that. And if that's not happening, my God, shame on you. But it's important as a frontline person, whether you're a trainer or a frontline supervisor or a dispatcher, to recognize the person sitting next to you, right? And I think that we forget that sometimes. I think it's just important to continue to do, but also leading by example, right? So if you do it once and you're not seeing a change, like, don't give up right away.
Right.
Keep doing it. And I've noticed that pretty frequently, or pretty recently, and it was kind of cool to witness. So.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's always cool for me to see a lot of the pictures on social media when they're doing their theme days, and seeing just how everyone is dressed up. But also, there's some places where I've gotten messages saying, "Hey, so we're going to be doing a bunch of barbecue. You want to come down?" I'm like, "Man, I wish I could."
How do you get to all of them?
I know. I was like, I would love to be there. I was like, that'd be a lot of fun. But yeah, just to see the recognition that everyone is getting for the work that they do is just phenomenal. It is really cool. And also to see some of these dispatch pages, whether it be on Facebook, Instagram, wherever, that they're sharing a lot of this too. I feel like that, I was saying it earlier today in class, those types of things humanize those folks and what it is that we do, and it's good for the community to see that, to be like, oh, they're just like us, but they're the ones who are watching over us. They're the ones who are there when we are calling in, and this is an important thing. It's an important job.
Yeah,
so
it is.
I love that.
And the recognition is amazing. I think that's a solid piece to it. But like when you're saying, you're watching them on Facebook and you're seeing the theme days and stuff. It's just a fun week.
Yeah.
They have a lot of people coming in and out. There's all kinds of snacks. There's colors that everybody's in colorful stuff a lot. And coming from agencies that are pretty uniform driven, I think that's fun for them.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And I think probably the biggest gift, I think, for one of them is that they get to do pajamas.
That's true. That's right. Pajama day. Day.
So
I always enjoyed, and call myself out, but I always enjoyed when some of the those out in the field, whatever fire, or police, whichever, would bring in some of the fruit baskets, because I would be destroying those oranges.
Yeah.
And they would go, "Dude, you're not leaving any for us." And I'm like, "Well, nope." I was like, "You guys are busy eating your pizza. I want an orange."
Right.
Like, I'm gonna destroy it. I mean, it wasn't a bunch of them. It was like 2 oranges. I took both oranges. But either way, some of that stuff, I always loved all of that. But let's go back in time. From dispatch week present to all the way 23 years ago.
Yeah.
Do you remember dispatch week 23 years ago?
I don't. I mean, I have to really dig. That's been a long time ago. I really don't. I remember a proclamation up on the wall.
There you go.
That was signed by maybe the county commissioners or the mayor's office. And, honest to goodness, I would see these like on the wall in our center, and I never stopped to read them. I never did. And I don't know, I was waiting on somebody sometime, and I just happened to start reading them, and I was like, oh my goodness, like that was it. And one of those years I was in, I was a frontline dispatcher, and I didn't even know that it happened. That was a long time ago, and technology's different, but I had no idea. We didn't have an email. There wasn't anything that came out that said, hey, they signed this for you guys. And as you saw them kind of lining up the wall, I was like, so it's just kind of like checking the box off. Nobody knew it existed. Nobody was present during those times for the proclamation. So it was kind of the director or whomever was in charge of that center standing up and accepting that, which, and sometimes that's okay, but I think it's really important for them to bring their folks along, and they're the ones that are actually doing it every day. So no, I really don't even remember my first week. I don't. I know it happened. We were pretty fortunate, and I just can't remember what it is.
I know. I'm the same way. When we first had ours, at least at our center. I think I was on vacation or something, and I came back. I was like, "Why is there a baggie in here of like jelly beans and like it was just random stuff?" And they're like, "Oh, well, they celebrated Dispatch Week," and I was like, "Dispatch Week?" I was like, "What is that?" And so then they explained it, and it was from one of our county administrators. Or no, it was from the sheriff. That's what it was. And each item was it represented something that dispatch does and does well.
Yeah.
And like, so there was like glue, and it's like you're the glue that holds together, these different lines and stuff. I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I wasn't here for it. I was like, huh, interesting. But 23 years ago, I mean, how did you get started in public safety to begin with?
So it was probably mostly my parents. I graduated from high school, and I was going to a community college, and a couple months out, my parents were like, you really need to like get a job, like a real one, like let's, what are we gonna do? And honestly, that was not a conversation we had, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So I applied in dispatch. My mom had been a dispatcher in some way, shape, or form most of my life, and my dad was involved in the fire service, and so I was like, this is familiar. Let's look at what this is like. And I remember honestly one of my interview questions. They said, if somebody called 911 and they said that a child's drowning, what would be the first question you ask? And I said, can they swim? Not like, where are you, or anything. And I guess it worked out. I got the job, and
right. 23 years later, here you are.
it was. I had no idea. I was very nervous. It was kind of my first real interview, and of course now there's lots more background checks and potential polygraphs and all of that. And I started out, and I really enjoyed it. Like I struggled a lot in training. I really thought I was never going to make it through that training. I remember buying a car, getting my first car loan. I'm 18, 19 years old. I walk in, and my trainer's like, I'm not sure why you did that. I don't think you're going to make it. And I was like, oh my gosh.
What?
Wow. Like, this is serious. Like, oh man. And hindsight's 20/20, and but it made me nervous. Like, what am I missing? What are the areas that I have to focus? And so eventually got qualified and really just dug into being a dispatcher, and I loved it. It was so much fun. So really just figuring out the areas that I wanted to be more involved in, and became a trainer, and I found going to different state conferences, and that was awesome to get to network with people that every center was so vastly different. 1 or 2 dispatchers, 10, 12. We have these schedules, and here's what we do for Telecommunicator Week or whatever. And so I think that's what hooked me was I thoroughly enjoyed doing it. And then I started to get more curious about how things worked in the back end. So,
man, okay, so you come from family of public safety. You had this experience and everything. How did it even come up? Like, it was just local, dispatch, that because it was all of this, you're asked or told you need to get a job, and you're looking, and you end up applying there. What was that feeling when you got the job? Did you do a sit-along or anything?
I had, because I had kind of grown up in that center.
Yeah.
So I was familiar with what it looked like, where most people were absolutely not.
Okay.
I really wanted to push those buttons, and I could every once in a while if I went to visit my family working in there, but the buttons were so fun. And now there's not a lot of them. They're all virtual and on a computer screen, whatever.
Right.
But it was different for me because I had seen the computer screens, but I think what really was kind of a holy shit, this is real moment was sitting on the radio for the first time. You're a big kid now. You have a trainer. Here's the documentation they're going to be doing. Here's what your expectations are, and listening and hearing that traffic for the first time. I was like, I have no idea what they just said. No idea. And then you figure it out, right? You get the radio ear and you figure it out. But it was probably horrifying, I think, listening, honestly. It wasn't the visual for me. It was the first time sitting and, oh, wow, this is real. This isn't a game.
Right.
So I had also, very first couple weeks, I'm getting to push the buttons and answer the phones, and we had this giant phone and they had cool light up buttons. That was fun. I just felt like a kid, like playing Battleship, I guess.
I love to see you reflect on this, because I can tell, like, you're going back, and I can tell how much you dug those buttons.
I mean, I can picture where everything is, and my trainer had kind of walked away, and this lady calls 911, and it was evident to the trainer, now looking back on it, that she gave me some attention for a second and then walked away. And it was very evident that that trainer had recognized this caller, had recognized this facility. And the woman started speaking, and I think she just assumed I had taken a call like that before. I'm 2 weeks in. And this woman is talking about, like, people putting things protruding in her rear end, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is probably not real, but we better put a call in, because they called 911, and she didn't catch that I put the call in. And she was like, wait a minute, no, wait, like, we need to make contact with the nursing staff. And I mean, it was very scary, but I was like, but you know, she said, and my trainer was like, yeah, but Mel, like, we need to call the facility. And it was very scary. I didn't know what to do. And so I think for her, she was like, okay, I kind of forget. It's only been a couple weeks. Like, I'll pay a little bit closer attention and help. But that was an interesting call for sure.
Holy moly. So, you know, I've said this before, and I will always say it. There are some points when you're in training that you just want to do such a good job that you will look at your trainer for any direction, even if the direction is as simple as, and this happened to me, so I'll call myself out. I was on radios. And you're right, when you get onto radios and you're hearing that traffic for the first time, and now it's you there, you're like, oh my God, here we go. And my response, all it needed to be was a 10-4.
Right.
But I wanted to do so good and I guess please my trainer as well at the same time. I remember looking at her and I said, it's just 10-4, right? It's just 10-4. And she goes, yes, it is. And I said, I just want to make sure. And so, 10-4. And she goes, what? And I said, I just want to do a good job, and I don't want to piss off the officers.
Oh, yeah.
And she goes, look, you're going to piss them off anyway. So don't worry about it. And if you need to repeat, just have them repeat. Do not depend on the technology, because it might not record. Right. And that'll be that moment that something crazy is happening, and all you have to do is ask, and you don't have the information or the location of where they're at or something. And I was like, okay. So that stuck with me. However, there was a call with that same trainer. And I take this call, and it's from a truck driver. He's at a rest area, and he needs medical attention. I don't know how he did this. I mean, I can imagine. But he zipped himself up. And he's in a lot of pain. And I'm listening to this while kind of crossing my legs at the same time, because I'm like, I can't believe that this is happening right now. And I said, okay, I'm going to put you on hold really quick and tone out for the ambulance. And he's like, okay. Put him on hold. And I look over at my trainer really quick, and I said, how do I even put that out? And she goes, oh, just say penis problems. And I said, oh, okay, that's easy enough. So I page out for the ambulance, be en route to whatever male subject having penis problems. On key. And of course, for EMS, or at least for us, our protocol, you have to do it twice. So I do it again and say it. And I turn around and look at my trainer right before I get back on the line with my caller, and her jaw is dropped. And I was like, wait. Why are you looking at me like that? And she goes, I can't believe you said that. And I said, you told me to. You told me to say it. And she goes, I didn't think you were going to say it. And I said, you're my trainer. I was like, I trusted you. Like,
man, It is a party sometimes to like, just, let you have that opportunity, right, with your tradie. They'll never forget it.
Right, and I have never forgotten it.
And you can blame it that it was the trainee, right? We're working on it.
Well, of course, EMS keys up and they're like, Central, can we get some more information on the problems? And I look over at my trainer, she's like, just have them call in. And so I had them call in and I told them and they're like, okay. So they're going out there. I get back on the line with the caller and I said, would you like me to stay on the line with you? I can stay on the line with you, but I might have to put you on hold, blah, 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 all that stuff. And he's like, no, I'll call you if anything changes. And I was like, all right, I appreciate it. Hang up. And I'm like, I can't believe you. But there are those moments, right?
Yeah.
Those moments happen.
They do.
Those moments happen. And that is one that I will never forget. But yeah, I just remember looking at her face and she's like, I can't believe you said that. I was like, I trusted you.
Well, they break up the monotony sometimes too. You gotta do it. I mean,
that is very true. Yes. So at the center, when you started there and you were going through all of this stuff in the beginning, you walk in, and for those who are listening, just to give a better picture, how many people are on the floor at a time? Are you working 8 or 12 hours? And are these consoles, are they close together? Or are they kind of spread out?
Yeah. What
are you seeing?
I'm seeing everybody in their console pods about 3 to 6 feet apart, depending on where they are within the console, and just being trusted to work very closely with a person as a partner. But in the very beginning, right, that trainer was responsible for everything I did, every keystroke I made, and every answer I provided somebody on the phone, and it was very intimidating. Not knowing all the answers is hard too.
Yeah.
And I don't think you'll ever have all of the answers though, right? Like, I don't think we ever should set out to make sure that this trainee knows all the answers. They just need at least the help to know where to go. Is it in an SOP? Is it in a book on the shelf? Where do we find it? And then you kind of get to know everybody in the room. In that center I started in, there was it was 12 consoles, generally 9 to 10 on during the day and evening, and a supervisor. And it's law enforcement, sheriff, fire, EMS, and so a lot of people, 8 hours, but they were always mandated over, so I heard about overtime a lot, and the overtime was kind of scary to look forward to, and a lot of knowledge in the center. I was really fortunate to come in during a time where there was about 5 to 6 that only had 2 to 3 years left or less than, and they were getting ready to retire. And man, I tapped into a lot of that, not just for job knowledge, but like financial planning and retirement stuff that
for sure, yeah,
we just don't talk enough about. And I'm sure glad that I did that. Like, very glad.
Man, I wish I would have thought about that. There were some ladies that I worked with, and I remember when I first started out, and this would be at the Central Dispatch in Michigan, they told me, you're going to go to this team, and they're the most seasoned people here, and they're going to eat you alive. And I was like, okay, great. And I was going to be the fourth working on their team, and they had worked together for so long. And we had so much fun together. I learned so much just listening to their stories. Pro tips, like a bunch of stuff. One person, Linda was her name. She could drink coffee like you wouldn't believe. She would go through a few pots.
Yeah.
And one morning, I told her, I'm going to keep up with you. And she smoked for a long time too. So she would go, yeah, Ricardo, let's do this. Let's go. And I'm like, all right, let's go. I was a cup and a half in, and I had to stop.
Oh my.
I could not keep up with her. Also, that coffee was super strong.
I bet.
It was like sludge. But I was flying. I was like the DeLorean. I might as well have gone back in time. I was flying. I could not handle it.
Oh my gosh. Go ahead. Oh my God.
Yeah, for real. I was like, you guys want to run a mile? You guys want to run around? Like, let's go do this.
Ooh.
But it was cool being there with them because, there was just all of this knowledge that they had.
Mm-hmm.
And a few of them stayed through, and even after I ended up leaving dispatch, there were a couple that were still there. They've now retired out, but that type of knowledge, like, you can't replace that. Mm-hmm. And like you're saying, like with the financial stuff, man, I wish I would have tapped into that as well. So
they had a calmness about them too. There was one that I remember very specifically, that he would have his feet kicked up on the console and somebody would call out a chase and he would not move. He didn't miss a beat. He didn't miss a change. He sounded calm. He didn't elevate. He was just, it was another day. Like, it was another shoplifting call, but they were all that way for the most part, all very calm. And
wow.
But you couldn't get away from, the financial stuff because they were ready. That's all they talked about all day. So
I'm counting down to the second. I know exactly.
Fortunate that they did, I guess.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Lucky about it. So,
with that type of mentality as well, just pushing through and going through it, they got kind of like that stare as well. And again, just learning from all those experiences, seeing or listening rather to some of their stories was probably some of my most favorite times. Now, a question on call types. What would you say was your most favorite call type? And it's going to be weird for anybody to hear this who's not in public safety, but what I mean by favorite is simply, what were the calls that you wanted to work more? Like, for example, people would want to be on the radio for like a chase, or like for myself, the calls that I enjoyed taking were domestics. And again, that's weird to hear, but it's because that's where, like, there's a lot that I'm doing during that time.
Right.
It's not just a barking dog call. Like, this is something where I feel like I'm really giving back and being able to help is what I'm getting at.
I think it kind of depends on what I was doing, right? And I'm probably talking more of, like, earlier on in the beginning when it was mostly 911 calls for like law enforcement or fire. And I think I would agree on domestics or disturbance because there's so much that you're doing, whether it's dispatching it out or on the phone. There's a lot of information you're trying to grab. A lot of safety information, and sometimes it's just, and it's often very hilarious. Like, it's Thanksgiving and all of the family are there, so all of us are gonna piss and moan at each other, and Grandpa's drunk in the yard, and we've got that it really happens. Like, it's a real thing, and it's funny, like, after the fact, right? And those are probably my favorite, just because of the dynamics. They could totally go one direction or the other.
Right.
And dispatching as well. Like, it is dispatching those out. You didn't know. Like, it could go one direction or another. And just to be ready for it, I think, is probably, I would say that was, it's kind of the lottery ticket. Yes, the chases are fun. Like, those are the best. That was my favorite, or large structure fires or grass fire season. But those were those, like, lottery ticket calls that, man, I don't know, like, what are we gonna roll today?
Yeah. I had my brother come in, he sat with me for just a few hours because I don't remember what we were gonna do afterwards, but we were sitting there and I was on radios, and he is just glued to the screen and listening to what's going on. And when we left, he goes, "Is it like that all the time?" And I said, "Pretty much, man."
Yeah.
And he goes, "That is freaking crazy, dude." He goes, "I don't know how you do that." He goes, "I was just listening and it just sounded like one of your officers was going out, and then he yelled out that he needed backup." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "And that's a scary thing." And he goes, "Well, yeah." He's like, "I was freaking out, man." He's like, I was at the edge of my seat.
You didn't do anything. You wouldn't have even known, right?
Yeah.
I think it's fun having observers because they're watching, like, they're trying to make sense of this, right?
Yeah.
And they're, at the end of the day, they're very likely not going to, because you're going to say yellow means this and red and whatever. But I think my husband probably says it best that, you know, when I come home, I 100% am done multitasking. Whether it's been a frontline dispatcher or a manager or whatever it has been in my career, I have to turn that off for a second. And he just, and my kids too, they're very baffled that why can you sit at a console like that and see all of these things and you never miss a beat, and it's you don't get agitated or but when you're here and we say like, where's the sponge, you didn't hear any of that. Like, it's
because
very
you didn't key
odd,
up, okay? You didn't key up to say.
I guess, like I didn't hear the burp burp first.
Right.
Yeah, turning that on and off, like I was pretty good at it, and I'm still pretty good at it, but I am totally zone everybody out. I can flip a switch, and I think you got to have that. It's so important.
Yeah, there's a lot of times, that happens, but also that dispatch here is a gift and a curse. I've been out of dispatch since 2013, and I still have it.
Yeah.
Still have it. Wherever I go, I'm listening to everyone's conversations, and some of them I don't want to hear. But they're also very intriguing. They're interesting. I'm like, oh, well, okay, that's going to happen. All right, this is crazy. But, and then other times, it'll be across the room and I hear someone call me. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? They're like, how did you hear me? I'm like, I was like, I got that dispatch here going. But I consider those some of our superpowers that we have.
For sure.
Now, we've shared some of these calls and everything, especially from early on and now coming up, but throughout your career, and if just as long as you feel comfortable talking about it, you don't have to, but a call that, and we all have certain calls that stick with us. There can be numerous ones, but sometimes there are some of those that are there for, I don't know, just whatever reason it might be. Any of those that you...
Yeah. So for a long time, I was not able to talk about this publicly because as soon as I started talking about it, and like, I'll probably, make more eye contact with, folks that are in the room with me just because I could not talk about this for a long time. And it wasn't until I had to really speak more publicly about dispatch when I was speaking to commissioners or talking to Citizens Academy or whatever it was. I would tell them about the calls, and inevitably, you're always asked what's the worst call you've always taken. I really wish people wouldn't say that, but they want to know, and it's hard not to. It's curiosity.
Right.
So I started talking about this call, and I would get extremely emotional. I could not keep it together. I would lose it. It was so embarrassing. I'm vulnerable in front of all these people, and it turns out, you push stuff down, right? And then it comes out at these super inappropriate times. So I was a brand new mom of a newborn. I had a son, and I didn't have the newborn years with him. He was 2 years old when he came into my life, and we adopted him. And then I came back from maternity leave. I was in the middle of the room. I was supervising that day, and I took a 911 call. And this mom is just freaking out. Her baby is not breathing. And you can tell, right? You can tell when you're hearing instructions being provided. I'm getting EMS on the phone. I'm sending fire, and I'm just listening. I'm muting while the EMS dispatchers are doing the pre-arrivals, and you could tell, this is not going to turn out well. That baby is very likely already gone. And it ended up being a SIDS call. My daughter was about 8 to 9 weeks at the time. I think I came back after 6 weeks. And from that moment forward, and she's 12, and so 3 months ago was consistently the first time she was not in my husband and I's room, either with us on a pallet. She was with us all the time because I felt like if she was with me as a newborn, nothing could happen. So you hear, you're not supposed to sleep with your kids. And of course we've taken calls like that too, of I rolled over on my child and they're blue.
Right.
So it was hard, but I think also, as a new mom or a new parent in that role, you do see things differently. You feel them differently, maybe. And so that very much stuck with me. From that moment forward, she stuck around. I'm super thankful that we did it that way, because now it's been about 3 months and she doesn't, which just kind of sucks sometimes, but it's kind of nice. And that was something that I guess I had to work through and talk about, because there was something that happened just a couple years ago, and it involved a 5-year-old, and it was horrific. And I didn't even take the call. I wasn't even in the same center. I wasn't even there when it happened, but I had to listen, and I had to review it, and I had to talk about it with legal and share it. And so that was awful, because I was thinking about the folks that were taking that call and who were really struggling with it. And we can say all day long, right? We have peer support. We have these different, every agency has something, whether it's an EAP or peer support, or we do debriefings and we make sure dispatchers are coming in. But I will say that you should never depend on your agency to help you, because something will get lost. I have understood from folks that I've led in the past that they assumed I knew every call that they answered, and that was just not the case. There was 2 very significant child calls that they had taken, and I had happened to come in the center that day about an hour or 2 after they had taken it, and she thought I knew. And I never said anything. I didn't say, hey, are you doing okay? And it didn't come out until like 6 months later, and she was really upset. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I had no idea, like what can we do? And I don't have a good answer for that. I love to know the secret sauce of like, how do you know those major calls? Because, before we got on, you're talking about the gal with the life-saving award, right? And she didn't tell anybody.
Right, yeah, because it had a good outcome.
Yeah, it was great, which is terrible. Like, why are we not sharing the good stuff?
Right.
So, I mean, those calls, yes, they were really difficult, and it took me being up at a podium in front of 50 people to know that, oh my word, I did not deal with that well, because I thought when I walked out the door, whatever happened in there's fine. Like, I don't need to talk about it, I'm good. But then you just keep like putting the boxes up in that closet, and eventually it fills, right? And it's coming out sometime, it's coming. And for me, it just was always in crappy situations in front of people, so yeah.
Well, thank you very much for sharing that. And you're right. Like there's a lot of people. Again, I was the same way, and they definitely piled up and fell. And I had to figure out what to do to help me and help those around me, and of course at home. Because so like we all know that when we get into public safety, there's a lot of times that you're going to miss certain things. And with my son Logan, this is a few years back, but I recorded an episode with his mom, and what I wanted to do was capture what it was like for her when I was in dispatch. And that was eye-opening.
I bet. Oh my.
and at the end of it, so this was on video, this was audio as well, but Logan was sitting off to the side. And so he wasn't on camera, but he was doing homework. He was sitting there. And I said, hey, bud, I said, what was it like for you? And he just kind of looks at me, and I said, you're not on camera, you're good, but what was it like for you? And I said, you can just say what you're going to say, it'll pick up on the microphone. And he goes, well, it's hard to miss what you didn't have, meaning me being at home.
Oh.
And I went, oh, okay. And his mom goes, Logan. And I said, no. Those were his true feelings.
Yeah.
I wanted to know. And I kept it in there. But it did hurt. And I was like, dang, man. I was like, okay, that's the truth. Fast forward a couple years. He's in an advanced speech class, and I'm helping him with a lot of stuff that he's doing. And out of nowhere, he comes in, and I was working on some stuff, and he goes, I just wanted to show you something. And he shows me this report that he had written and I guess had done there in his class. And it was about me. And it was about what I do. And he says, I didn't know then, but I know now. Mm-hmm. I didn't understand then, but I understand now that you weren't just gone.
Right.
Because you wanted to be. You were not only taking care of us, but also those who were calling in for help. And now you are basically helping the helpers.
Yeah.
And helping them talk about these things. So thank you.
Yeah.
He's like, also I got an A.
Oh.
I was like, well, great. I was like, that is awesome. But as he's telling me this, I'm like,
yeah.
I'm all crying and shit because I'm reading this. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And he goes, I didn't understand. He goes, but thank you for helping me understand.
Yeah.
There was also this video game that came out online called, I think it was called Dispatch or 911 or something like that. It came out in 2017. And he started playing it. And he came and sat with me. And I said, are you okay? And he goes, no. I said, what's wrong? And he goes, remember I was playing that Dispatch game? And I said, yeah. He goes, I took a call about someone who wanted to take their life. And I said, are you for real? And he goes, yeah. He goes, and I think I made the right decision.
Oh, gosh.
And so we talked through it.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, you definitely made the right decisions and everything. But just that game alone, he goes,
Whoa.
I'm not playing that game anymore.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like we need it. Maybe in our training scenarios.
Maybe. It came out in 2017.
Wow, that is something.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting. I was trying to get them on the podcast to talk about it, but I never was able to make that connection. But yeah, after we talked through it and everything, he's like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to play that game. How did you, Dad, how did you do this for all the years that you did it? And I said, it takes a special person to do what we do.
It does.
And for people to understand, and when they're ready to open up and talk, they will, you know, but it's all on everyone's time.
Right.
And, that's how we get through what we get through. Now, as we're kind of going into the wrap up of this, it's been awesome to have you on and talk to you and learn more. I have a couple questions, but this first one, with the 23 years that you've been in public safety, thinking back, tell me your thoughts on 911 technology 23 years ago to how it is present day. How has that changed?
Honestly, that technology drove me in my career. I think it was probably 2 or 3 years in when I first started that I was like, oh my gosh, I really like this. It wasn't just the job. I mean, of course, I still to this day will go and dispatch, and I absolutely love it. Don't worry, like somebody's always babysitting me, but
they're like, you don't know how to use the technology.
Like, no, Mel, like that's not where we post those. That's not how that works. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah.
But I think it's the technology piece because there's a million CADs, but they integrate with different things. And then we had NextGen coming in, and the capabilities and the possibilities that I was hearing was really interesting. But I wanted to know the facts.
Yeah.
So I think that's what really drove me into like the quote unquote back office leadership, right? So I wasn't on the floor a lot, and kind of has led to me in my career now. I really like to know the meat and potatoes of it, because the people that are involved and most of the vendors or the ones designing it, by and large, have never worked in a comm center. And so they implement this stuff and they're not thinking about who is actually using it and what they need, what would be helpful to them, and making sure that, because I'll miss something, right? And so I wanted to garner from the folks in the room, what is it that you are wanting? And then figure out how could we get there someday? We have gone from legacy 911, you call 911 on a cell phone, which, 20 years ago, 85% of all 911 calls are from a cell phone nationally, I think. I know it's high over 85. And
right.
So I don't know what the percentage was back then, not 80, and we still had landlines at that point. So a lot of them came in that way. And when you see now, we're actually getting caller location, and there's stuff out there that we can get Z coordinates for people in apartment buildings and paging capabilities, you know, for fire departments, giving them the call. So if I'm sitting at the console one day and you sit next day, we're on the same volume. And so there's all these different pieces that, you know, radio systems and P25 and digital, and there is something for everybody in the technical space, I think. And so that, I mean, that is what drove me to dive in, because as I was going to conferences or talking to these vendors, we'd start up a conversation and I'm like, so where are you from? And it was like, they're from somewhere, but they never had really worked in a comm center, or they didn't have experience in public safety. And I'm not saying that that's, you know, just because you don't have that doesn't mean that the product's not good or they don't want to understand. But I really wanted to make sure that, are we looking at it through a lens that the frontline people are really going to use this stuff. So
right. Yes.
And we talk so technical, especially in the next gen world and EZNets, and you bring brand new people in and we show them that Alley, and it's like words and numbers, you know? What the hell does that mean?
Right. Yeah.
Putting it in a way that does make sense and takes some of that technical crap that nobody cares about that, man. Like, nerd talk that somewhere else, you know? So I think we have seen a huge change, and it's only getting faster. I don't know that the humans can catch up with how fast everybody wants to go. I think we do need to maybe slow things down just a bit and make sure that our people that are actually doing it now, do they understand the video to text, and what does that look like, and how does the state decide, and just diving in more than I think kind of what we can do in the comm center, right? We're just talking back and forth, and then we can start to go off on a tangent and we're thinking like, oh my gosh, well, they're going to show us all these pictures, and you know, we're going to get all of this stuff, but how do those decisions get made, and
True.
Where does this come through? And so that's what I really like, learning that stuff and then hearing those concerns, right? I had never thought of that. My goodness, that would be disgusting. Yeah, we should look at that. Yeah, I get it, you know?
Yes. Yeah, I'm glad that a lot of the companies that have come out and are doing all of this crazy technology that, you know, you could only imagine.
Yeah.
And now it's here. That a lot of them, what they're doing is, one, they're hiring from dispatch. So
right.
they have a lot of those folks put their input in, but also potential customers, they will end up asking, well, how would you like to see this delivered? And a lot of those video to 911, they come in blurred, so that you have the choice on whether you want to see it or not. You can blur or unblur it or however. So I like that a lot of these companies are at least doing that.
Yeah.
And you know, taking our word for it, because I mean, we're the ones who are using it, right? So they can have the best technology, but it's not going to mean shit if we're not the ones that are actually using it and putting it to good use, right?
And I think they definitely, they make an effort in learning. And I think you made a really good point that when you are a dispatcher and you feel like, I do not want to be on nights anymore. I am tired of this schedule. But I love what I do. I hate that sometimes we forget about them.
Yeah.
We forget about all of these vendors and these people that, for instance, like Denise Amberley Foundation, right? Like Nathan's done a great job of turning a horrific piece into something for 911. You look at what you've done with your podcast and connecting people, you know. We should be looking at that. If you want to stay in this space, boy, there's so many opportunities that, no, you're not answering 911 anymore, but thank goodness you're working for that company that helps us, right?
Right, yeah, your expertise and knowledge continues going on.
Yeah.
Because you can't buy that. You can't replace it. That's experience, years of experience that goes through. Now, we're on to our final question.
Yeah.
And you heard this question earlier.
I did.
So, this isn't to change anything, but if you could go back in time, 23 years ago, to talk to yourself in the beginning of your public safety career, what would you tell yourself?
I think probably what I think about the most is putting, you kind of hit on it with your kids, right? And so, you don't get to make it to everything. And they do. They slowly understand that. So while I didn't have kids starting out, it didn't take long for me to have children early on as a frontline employee and supervisor. And they saw me running out the door all the time, like, oh, I've got to get to work, and I'm sorry, I'm going to miss this or whatever. But I think the thing that I would mostly change is that when other people's children came in, I learned this years later, maybe, and I wish I would have known it in the beginning, is because I wasn't a mom, I didn't realize, that you're missing stuff, right? And so I would tell others' kids when they come in to visit, like, do you know how cool your mom is? And I do that now. Anytime I see somebody's kids come in, and I ask them, hey, have you brought your family to have lunch with you at the console? Oh, I didn't know that was allowed. Yes, of course. Like, we forget to talk about that, but it's so important for your family to know what you're doing. And I think that's what I would significantly have changed, is saying that early on, making sure that anybody's kids that I saw, I shouted from the rooftops about their parents. And I had somebody do that for me once, and I was like, oh my gosh, wow. And my kids were like, oh, we're hearing it from someone else, and so it must be true, right? Because if mom says it, it's crap. But
Right.
I think that's probably, what I would have changed the most, in making sure that your family, my partner's family, my partner's kids, knew how important you were and how much we valued you. And I would also probably learn to set boundaries way sooner in my life. Like, I put work first way too much. I think it's really easy to do in an environment that there's a lot of overtime or on-call, or, man, you're gonna miss that. It's okay, I'll cover it. Or, it's cool, like, I'll come work at midnight. And then boundaries, you have got to set them. And there's an eloquent way to do it. It's not easy, but I learned way too late in life for that, I think.
Well, that is perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having us. It was great.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. And I had told the both of you that we'd be recording for like 20 or 25 minutes, or depending on how the conversations go. And both conversations were phenomenal. There was no way to stop it. I wanted to keep going. I could talk to the both of you all day. This has been so much fun. So thank you very, very much.
I just saw the time. Wow.
I know, yeah. 54 minutes
Sorry
we've been
about
recording. This has been
Awfully
good.
chatty, Ricardo.
Hey, this has been good. So again, I appreciate you. Thank you for being on. This has been awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Of course. For those who are listening, if you have any comments, questions, you ever want to be a guest on the show, you can email us. But the easiest way to do this is to simply go to links.co/IM911, and that is links with 2 i's.co/IM911, and you'll find everything there. You'll find my email, you'll find social media, where to follow. You'll be able to find the latest episodes of Within the Trenches podcast, as well as the Imagine Listening podcast, and the link to schedule an episode. So whether you are new to dispatch, seasoned, or you are retired, I would love to have you on the podcast and share your story. I've been doing this for over a decade. It is my passion. I would love to share it. So hit me up on there as well. You'll see the button. There's also a free link for the Trenches community. It is free. There are over 200 hours worth of continuing education for dispatch that I have on there, as well as 45 hours of the Dispatchers Roundtable. And every other month, I'm going to try to do one during Dispatch Week, and that's going to be the Public Safety Showcase. So it'll be 4 to 5 speakers, so 4 to 5 hours of different topics. It'll be on there. Again, this is all free for you to check out. So make sure to go there. And then any dispatch or podcast merchandise, or to find volume 1 and 2 of Imagine Listening, simply go to, again, links with 2 i's.co/IM911. everyone. This episode has been sponsored by Rapid SOS. Safer Together, the leading company in AI for public safety. And a big shout out to them for helping out with the partnership and everything that we have. Also to subscribers of the podcast. And you can listen to this podcast 24/7 on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. Have a good one, everyone, and we will see you all in the next one.
Imagine listening to someone's worst day every single day. Imagine listening as someone experiences life, through their worst nightmare to the miracle of birth or a life saved. I'm Ricardo Martinez, a former 911 dispatcher, and for years, I've been recording the voices of a hidden world, ours. I've provided a space for 911 dispatchers to share their powerful stories. It started as a peer support session and continues. Dispatchers sitting together, sharing out loud, or writing down what they couldn't say. Some stories will grip you. Stories of heartbreak, resilience, and calls that haunt us long after the line goes quiet. But imagine listening is more than heavy emotion. It's about healing. It's about laughing through the chaos, lifting each other up, and reminding the world that dispatchers are human too. The lighthearted will balance the heavy. Experience the power of storytelling, a podcast for the thin gold line and those who want to understand it. This is Imagine Listening. Your worst day is our everyday. Subscribe now wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.